Good evening, everybody. Today is the 3rd of December, as according to the old calendar. I'm, of course, Rita Lazar. Welcome to Voice of British Orthodoxy. Let's dismiss that. Today we have 3 saints in the book. I believe it's the same 3 saints in the Celtic Saints website, and then some bonus in the group chat. So, our first saint of the day is Saint Birinus of Dorchester, and he is from the 7th century. I am just getting the... Wait, have I done something wrong? Ah, okay. I see the issue. I see what I've done wrong. Forgive me. There we go. This is the one that I wanted open. And now I should be able to access this, and then I can bring these over. Excellent. Right, Saint Birinus of Dorchester was a native of Lombardy. He was consecrated bishop by Asterus, bishop of Genoa, and then sent by Pope Honorius to convert the West Saxons. One of his earliest converts was Kinigels, King of Wessex, kingdom of, at whose baptism King St. Oswald of Northumbria, (5th of August), served as godfather. St. Birinus founded the Diocese of Dorchester in Oxfordshire, where he reposed c. 650. His relics were translated to the Church of St. Peter at Winchester by Bishop Hedder in 686. St. Birinus is also known as the Apostle of Wessex. He has his icon here. Right, let's... Okay, I will read his thingy entry. St. Birinus, Birin, Bishop of Dorchester, known as the Apostle to the West Saxons, due to his work in converting the Kingdom of Wessex to Orthodoxy. And then in brackets it says 649 AD. Our next saint of the day will be Saint Ethanan of Scotland, and the date is uncertain. Oh wait, actually, I should probably point out, there is actually a Kontakion and a Troparion here, if I remember correctly. So the Troparion is found at the bottom here, and it's tone 6, taking up thy cross of Christ as it were a battle standard, thou didst set forth for the English lands, to wage a war upon the ancient foe of mankind, O Birinus, glorious in wonders, and, as a valiant champion of the Christian faith, thou didst fight the good fight until the end. Wherefore thou hast received the trophy of the victory from the King of Kings, whom thou didst serve. Entreat him, O holy hierarch, that he save our souls. This is part of a canon that exists on the Cardiff website. So, I'll probably just bring this over here. There is a Troparion, a Kontakion for him somewhere. There we go. Kontakion is sung in tone 4, and it has the special melody for Thou Hast Appeared. With sacred hymns and spiritual songs, we sing the most blessed hierarch Birinus today. For he was a faithful servant of Christ, and a vigilant shepherd for his flock, whoever prayed on our behalf. I will leave those 2 in the description. If you want, I might also maybe leave the canon for anybody that wants to pray that in future years. Anyway, our next saint of the day is Saint Ethanan of Scotland, and his date is uncertain. A native of Scotland, Saint Ethanan studied in Ireland, where in time he was consecrated bishop. He then returned to Scotland, where he devoted the rest of his life spreading the gospel. His feast and office are in the Aberdeen Breviary. Also, I guess I should probably mention, if you don't know, this is the uncut mountain supply icon of him, for anybody that wants to know where you get that icon from. The group chat entry is St. Ethanan, born in Scotland, became a bishop in Ireland, returned to preach the gospel in Scotland. And then in brackets it says 7th century, but obviously here also says thingy. And our final saint in the book and in here is St. Lucius, and he is from the 2nd century. In the Liber Pontificalis, bracket 6th century biography of Pope Saint Eleutherius, who is commemorated on the 26th of May, is the following brief sentence. He received a letter from Lucius, a British king who wanted to become Christian on his authority. From this developed the tradition of King St. Lucius, a British king who requested missionaries from the Pope of Rome who would help baptize him and convert his subjects. The legend continues with Saint Eleutherius sending Saints Fogatius and Damien both on the 26th of May to Britain, where they were very successful. A large number of King St. Lucius's subjects were baptized, heathen temples were converted into churches, and the pagan priests took up Christian ministry. Although it has been argued that this is the only explanation for the existence of an organised British church in Roman times, there is no contemporary evidence that King Saint Lucius ever lived. Modern scholars genuinely follow the argument of German theologian and church historian certain name that begins with A, that I probably can't read on here, von Harnack, who I think died in 1930, based upon the sword cross-looking thing next to the number, which is in brackets, who suggested that the statement in the Liber Pontificalis is due to a transcription error which mistook Bertha, the castle of Edessa and Britain, thereby transforming the ruler of Edessa, Adgar IX, into a British king. For centuries after, this legend of the first Christian king of Britain was widely considered an accurate account of Christianity among early Britons. Inasmuch as the Liber Pontificalis was one of the most important historical texts of the early medieval era, St. Bede the Venerable, who is commemorated on the 25th of May, by the way, and we commemorated him back on the 25th of May, incorporated its information on King St. Lucius and the tradition which grew from it into his Historia Ecclesiastica. As the Middle Ages progressed, the legend of King St. Lucius grew more and more elaborate. He was said to have been the son of Simon of Cyrene, converted by the holy apostle Timothy, becomes a missionary in the province of Rhaetia, where he serves as the first bishop of Chur, and finally is martyred by stoning. According to the Roman mythology, King St. Lucius abdicated his throne, became a missionary, and served as the first bishop of Chur in the present-day canton of Graubünden, Switzerland. The Swiss aspect of his life is most likely based upon a separate tradition of a Lucius of Chur, who is thought to have been an actual historical figure. Various versions of the legend of King St. Lucius appear in the Historia Bretonum, brackets early 6th century, Willem of Malmesbury's Gesta Pontificum Anglorum, early 12th century, which is that early 12th century in brackets, by the way, and the Book of Llandaff, which is also from the early 12th century. However, it was Geoffrey of Monmouth's early 12th century chronicle, Historia Regum Britanniae, which stands out as the most historically significant account of the life of King St. Lucius, in which Geoffrey stresses the saint's virtues and provides a detailed, albeit mythical, story of Christianity's growth in Britain during King St. Lucius's reign. While Geoffrey's account may have been overshadowed by the exhilarating exploits of St. Joseph of Arimathea's mission in Britain, he's commemorated on the 1st of July, by the way, it remained the exemplar until well into the 12th century, when historians specialising in that era pointed out the unlikeliness of a British king south of Hadrian's Wall in the 2nd century, and certainly none who would have been in a position to send a delegation to the Pope. King St. Lucius is generally believed to have reposed c. 156 at Gloucester, though late 16th century historian John Stowe wrote of a plaque in the Church of St. Peter upon Cornhill in the city of London, which credited King St. Lucius with founding of that church in 179. Though the church and the plaque were completely destroyed by the Great Fire in 1666, a replacement was made when the church was rebuilt and hangs in the church vestry to this day. What are said to be King St. Lucius's relics enshrined in the Cathedral of St. Lucius in Chur, Switzerland, although scholarly consensus is that the see only dates from the early 4th century. His group chat entry is King Lucius, King of Britain, who requested missionaries for his people in 187 AD. There we go. Found in the dioceses of London and Llandaff, brackets 2nd century. It is said that after his conversion and the acceptance of the gospel by the greater number of his subjects, he resigned his dominions and went to preach in Germany, finally taking up his abode at Chur, in the canton of the Grisons, whence he was called to the reward of his labours in heaven, and, as some add, to the martyr's crown. According to some accounts, he was accompanied from Britain by his sister Emerita, who eventually suffered martyrdom at Treves or at Chur. And then there's a quote that says, King Lucius is said to have been Clermois. I've probably butchered that pronunciation of a Welsh word. And his principality to have been in or near Llandaff. The rest of the next entry for today is Saint Eloquarius, also known as Eloqua, and he's only mentioned in the group chat, so the entries from here on out are group chat only. Disciple and successor of Saint Fursey, (one of the 4 comely saints along with Brendan of Burr, Conal, and Burchan, as abbot of Lagny, and then in brackets 660 AD. Next saint of the day is Saint Sola, also known as Sol, Solus, or Suolo. Anglo-Saxon missionary priest under the English Saint Boniface, in Germany. Another a different set of brackets right next to it that says 794 AD. A monk and priest from England who followed Saint Boniface to Germany and lived as a hermit, first near Fulda, later near Eichstätt. Finally, he settled on a piece of land where he founded a monastery called Solnhofen as a dependency of Fulda Monastery. Okay, that's fine. So there's 5 saints today. I'll leave this in the description for anybody that wants to pray it. I've been Rita Lazar. May those saints intercede for us before the righteous judge. I have, of course, been Rita Lazar. God bless you all, and Amen.